Welcome to the Sunshine Parenting Podcast. My name is Audrey Monkey, and I am your host. For more than 3 decades, I've been a summer camp director, and I've had the privilege of working with thousands of children, teenagers, young adult counselors, and parents. I really enjoy sharing stories, tips, and ideas to help others who care about young people raise a generation of kind, self-reliant, optimistic kids who become thriving adults. If you're interested in summer camp, parenting, or happiness, you've come to the right place. For episode 45, I am so happy to be chatting with Tom Rosenberg. He is the CEO of the American Camp Association and has helped spearhead Camp Kindness Day, which is coming up on July 24th. Hope you enjoy this episode where we talk about camp, social emotional learning, Camp Kindness Day, and many other topics. Hi, Tom. It's so great to have you on the podcast today.
Hi, Audrey. Thanks for having me.
So, Tom, because my listeners probably don't know you yet, can you just tell us a little bit about your background and how you ended up being the CEO of the American Camp Association?
Well, like you, Audrey, I've spent my whole career as a camp professional, camp director, working for over 25 years, really, I guess, as a camp director, children of all ages on the East Coast in the state of North Carolina. And I'm deeply concerned about every child in the United States having the opportunity to attend camp. So I decided to hang up my camp director hat in favor of working at 70,000 feet to advocate for every boy and girl in America to have this opportunity.
Well, we all of us, on behalf of all the camps, we appreciate your great work, which I know this year has been a lot of work in Washington, D.C., helping us with, helping our international staff be able to come work at camps and lots of great. So you're doing some great work for us.
Thank you.
So we appreciate that. So I want just first, because not everybody knows what the American Camp Association is. So can you tell a little bit about this association and what you're all about?
Sure. So the American Camp Association is a 108-year-old nonprofit 501c3 organization. We serve the public by providing professional development services to camp professionals and seasonal camp staff to help create higher quality camp experiences. We promote camp in a way to help parents understand why camp education is important to the development of their child and how they might find a way to get their child to camp. We also convene research in the field, like empirical scientific research around the impacts of camp on children and young adults, as well as helping camps do their own evaluative research so they can measure the outcomes of the experiences that they're providing. And then we're also in DC, as you mentioned, advocating for children in a variety of ways. We recently spent 9 years advocating for the Child Protection Improvement Act, for example, to be passed by Congress. It was recently passed, and that will now ensure that in all 50 states, camps will have the ability to do thorough federal background checks on the adults who are working in residential and day camps. So it's really important work. It's unbelievable it took 9 years to get there, but we got there. So we do a lot of different things. One of the most important services that we provide to the public is for 70 years now, this summer is the 70th birthday of the American Camp Association accreditation process. We are the only national external peer review process that provides parents with assurances voluntarily that a camp has stepped up to meet the minimum standards of our industry. Currently, there are about 300 standards potentially that a camp would be scored against in the areas like facilities, program quality, staffing, like human resources development, healthcare, food service, all the elements that an astute parent would want to dive into to understand whether a prospective camp was a great camp for their child, professional camp. The ACA accreditation process dives into those areas, and that helps parents know that the camp has met minimum standards of quality And unfortunately, in our country, camp is typically regulated at the state level. So every state's different in how they regulate camp. Some are more regulated, and some are not regulated hardly at all. So accreditation through the American Camp Association is the only way really a parent can know coast to coast that a camp has stepped up to meet those minimum standards.
Yeah, that's been a really important thing I know for me. And what it is, you know how like when you have homework in school, you do it.
Yes.
And I think it doesn't matter how, great you are at running your business or your camp, having that checklist of, do we have the right qualified staff in this area? Do we have the right number of people? Do we have the lids on our trash cans? Do we have, there's all these little details. And for me, I really appreciate that kind of outside standards to look at and be able to make sure that we are doing everything we can to meet these health and safety standards. So I really appreciate you talking about that, because I think for a lot of parents, they wouldn't really think about sending their child to a school that didn't meet sort of academic guidelines or some kind of certification or accreditation. But I don't think parents really understand that really anybody can start a camp, and it could just be starting for the first year, and it could be very well run and doing everything correctly, but it's kind of hard to know unless they are following some kind of accreditation. So I wrote an article, I think it was, a couple of years ago, and it's 5 reasons not to worry while your campers at camp.
Great article.
And I put a caveat in the beginning, just so everyone knows, this pertains to American Camp Association accredited camps. And I talk about supervision ratios and how activities are run. So even things that kind of seem high risk, they're run very safely if a camp is following the accreditation standards. So anyway, I really think that's an important thing. And I'm glad that you're doing some work to kind of educate parents about the importance of accreditation.
And absolutely. And if I may, the best way to find a camp that is accredited for your child, just surf on over to find.acacamps.org, find.acacamps.org. And there's a directory of camps there to their websites. If they're accredited, there'll be a brand, an accreditation brand next to their camp name. It's really important. I would say the reality is many camps today still are not yet accredited, and they're not required necessarily by all states to become accredited. So we're doing this as a public service.
Yeah, so great. And I will put also in the show notes, I'll put links to everything we talk about so people can click right on it for us.
So, thank you so much, Audrey.
So Tom, one thing that I am really excited about, and the reason I set up this interview, was I got the information that the American Camp Association is partnering with Kindness Evolution for a big event called Camp Kindness Day, which is on July 24th.
Right. It's very exciting.
And what I especially love about this is those of us in the camp world know that we are really fostering a lot of great skills in our campers and our staff, and kindness and, learning to get along with different people. There's so many amazing things happening at camp, and you're really putting a spotlight on that with this kind of special recognition. So just tell us about Camp Kindness Day and what's going on around that.
Well, for those of us that have been to camp, we know that kindness happens every day throughout the week or throughout the session at camp. But we wanted to, as you say, put a spotlight on kindness and empathy. We wanted to fuel a positive cultural shift by providing this collaborative platform to demonstrate all the kindness that's happening from all these young people across our country. Uniting us and helping us be more intentional about being kind to each other at camp. And then we know and we believe that this kindness initiative will continue on into the schools after camp ends and will continue to grow.
Yeah, it's such a terrific idea, because I know that at my camp, and I think all camps feel this way, we might have kids for a couple weeks, or some camps are 1 week, some kids are longer, but we really want so much more to happen than just for them to have this experience while they're with us. We want them to take home these life skills, these amazing qualities that they learn about, develop, and practice while they're at camp. And kindness is one of those. Before we started recording, I was just telling you that what I especially love about this is that it's a positive message, promoting what we want people and kids to be doing. I think it's a much better way to help our kids develop some of the skills they need is letting them know what they can do, what proactively you can do to do kind things, as opposed to being focused on what not to do, which a lot of education around character traits is, kind of like anti-bullying or anti-this, whereas when you tell kids what you do want them to be doing, they're much more responsive.
Right. And, camp is like day camp and resident camp. They're like model communities. It's one of those special places in the world where kids can sort of escape the distractions of everyday life and unplug, literally and figuratively, and head off to the woods and or some special oasis inside an urban setting and practice being people. And so part of that is learning 21st century skills like social emotional learning skills, SEL, that's the buzzword. So that is literally learning to be, to have perspective of other people, to have empathy for them and try to understand how they're feeling. I've been told by education experts that empathy is not innate. You're not born with it. You have to be taught empathy and kindness and practice it. So camp is a place where we can be very positive and very intentional about teaching kindness, why it matters. And in this day and age where, teenagers in general, I think it's well established on the internet, lots of research by Pew and other research centers around teenagers in particular are forming a lot of their relationships around the digital world now, not so much in person. And so we are concerned about that because kids need a chance to practice socializing in person, eyeball to eyeball, without their faces in their phones. And so camp is a place where we put those phones aside. We leave them home, literally. There are 91% of ACA camps do not allow technology to enter their campers' life while they're at camp. So at camp, we have an opportunity to learn to live and work and play and communicate with other kids and young adults from different perspectives than our own.
Mm-hmm. Gosh, of course you're preaching to the choir here because I 100% agree. I always tell people that I think in every other place where you are, like at school, really their focus has to be academics because that's what they're being, tested on. And I love when you talked about the research. We check what we're finding out is what are kids learning? How are they learning to get along with other people better? So that's the kind of outcomes that we're looking for at camp, which, oh my gosh, I know from my own research that those skills, those people skills, those SEL skills, those are going to take our kids much, much further than any particular athletic accomplishment or academic, anything like that. To have a successful, happy, healthy life, you need to be able to know how to be a good friend to other people.
Yes. In fact, the education foresight experts are looking ahead to like 2040 when babies today who are born today enter the workforce, and they're seeing that in 2040 we're going to have a very human-centered economy that is very focused around professions that where you have highly or very deep human skills. So professions around creativity, innovation, those that require a lot of human collaboration and critical thinking and communication. Those 21st century skills will be more valuable than Common Core skills that you're learning in schools today, simply because computers will already be doing, or robots, automation will be doing so much of what we do today. And decision-making, routine decisions will be done by AI, by artificial intelligence. So the best jobs in the future are those where we can demonstrate a lot of practice in human skills. So one of those skills, for example, Audrey, is storytelling. At camp, we learn to tell stories, whether it's around the campfire or around the dining room, or maybe it's right after lights out and everybody's having share time together. I hope that on Kindness Day that camp staff members and campers from camps across the country will share stories on how they learned to be kind at camp and how they learned that while there's great diversity at camp, there's a lot we have in common, and we can build shared understanding and kindness on that.
That's so powerful. Yeah, that really is true. I thought about that. It is a lot of what we do is tell stories. And we just had our leadership staff just arrived yesterday, and we started our first meeting because some people knew each other. Not everyone knows each other because some people have missed a few years. And we went around the table and shared like a highlight from our past year, a challenge from the last year, and then just a random story. And I mean, they ranged it some were very long and really funny. Some were, but I just realized that is why we're all here. We love being with each other, sharing these stories,
Right.
how you get to know people. And I love that. So as a focus of Kindness Day, just having kids share their own stories of kindness. Also, I think one of the recommendations you guys even have is stories of other people's kindness. If you
Right.
have, books about or stories about someone who did something extra kind.
Yeah.
It's just such a great thing to just kind of rally around a topic and make it a theme. And like you said, it goes on all the time at camp, but I love that you're now making it a thing that that a lot of camps across the country are going to be participating in and sharing stories, right, about what we're all doing at our camps on that day.
Yeah. It's sharing and showing appreciation for other people and helping them feel valued and part of the community. That's kindness. But that's also the way we lead. Right. And I think when kids are in an environment when they feel appreciated and included, then they're willing to take positive risks and try new things that they've never done before. And when they take those positive risks, they're going to make mistakes. That's part of growing up. It's part of being a human is to make mistakes. And one of the things we want to teach at camp is that it's okay to make mistakes. In fact, if you're not making mistakes, you're probably not trying enough new things. So we want to encourage kids to learn from failure, and they really want to do that when they're in a place where they feel loved and appreciated, and where there's a lot of empathy. So that's what we hope will happen in spades. And we hope that they'll take this back to their schools and teach their teachers what they learned at camp and keep it going.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. It's funny because my oldest daughter, she just finished her first year of teaching. And she's teaching high school, and people keep asking her, wait, this is your first year? How is your first year? And she has told me, I can't even tell you how many times she's told me, Mom, I learned more from my work at camp about kids and working with kids and teaching, because what she has done and the other people are seeing is she's connected with the kids. They come into her classroom before school. They have lunch in her classroom. They stop by afterwards. She's talking to them about the real stuff of life. So then they're wanting to learn from her. And so, yes, I think I've always said we have a lot to teach teachers in the camp world. I think we get kind of discounted like, oh, all you camp counselor people over there. And we have just a really powerful message. And so I love that you mentioned that the campers, the student, they can go home and teach their teachers about what they learned at camp, which is so great. I also loved that you mentioned having a growth mindset about empathy and kindness and these things, because I think a lot of us in the past would just, you kind of use it like an adjective, like, oh, she's so kind.
Right.
Or, same thing with like leadership, we'll do that to kids. Oh, wow, really a natural leader. And really, we all have the ability, but we need to bring it out more in these kids. And so kindness is one of those things that, yes, everybody can learn to be more kind, and we need to be intentional in the way we show kids those things.
Yeah.
So,
it can be even something as simple. I think at camp, especially today when kids are not having as much in-person time, social time, we learning the skill of listening is really important. And so just to really learn, you show a great deal of kindness when you actually hear someone. Right. And I was reading a book recently where they described that listening is really three steps. One, where you prepare to listen, you sort of really focus on the person. Two, where you hear, listen to what they're saying. And three, where you really are hearing and processing what they're saying. So that those kinds of skills, like learning how to be a part of a group and really hear people and really connect with them in a way that may be completely different from what you know already, is just an amazing thing. And if we can create more listening, and they say God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we should listen twice as hard as we speak, much as we speak. If we're able to do that, if everyone is able to do that in this world, it will be a much kinder place.
Yeah, and our kids can lead from the youth because we're
Amen.
needing a little more positive role modeling of kindness and positive interactions. And you're right, camp is just one of those places where we can make a positive impact on this world through the work we do, one camper at a time, one group at a time. These
Absolutely.
counselors that we work with too, they're focusing on Kindness Day. They're going back to their universities and they can spread the word. So I love the ripple effect that Camp Kindness Day is going to have. So it's just phenomenal. Tell us a little bit about Kindness Evolution, the organization that you're partnering with, and I'm going to put a link to their webpage too.
So it's a West Coast organization that really has reached now coast to coast, and they are really it's a partnership of I think over 60 organizations that are interested in advancing kindness in an evolutionary way, in lots of different ways, with adults, with children, with seniors, in our communities across the country. So it's the idea is to emphasize kindness and empathy in everything that we do. We believe that at the American Camp Association that it can begin at camp for some kids, and they can carry that forward to school. It can carry it forward back home to their families and communities. And it will just keep building. It's never going to be a never-ending cycle of empathy.
Well, I think I don't even know if we can go any further than that. It's just so good. We're just changing. I do want to say, I think that it's important to say too, because some of the people listening, maybe their child isn't going to camp this summer, maybe it's not working, but this is something that I would say, I think families could do at home.
Absolutely. 100%.
There's some really great resources on your webpage, and I'll put links to them too, about different activities that people can do. And I think that you could, in your neighborhood, at home, you could celebrate Camp Kindness Day or get some kids together and do something, kind for other people. So I love taking this even beyond camp, or, obviously not all kids who even go to camp will be at camp on July 24th, but we want them to be celebrating this regardless of where they are.
I think having conversations with your kids about being kind and why it's so important, and that it's a skill that you have to practice. You can't just pick it up and run with it. The more you do it, the better it is. So I think having those conversations is essential at camp, around the dinner table, anytime at all.
Okay, well, do you have any final messages or places you want to direct parents to, or anything else that you'd like to share before we sign off today?
Well, I thank you, first of all, Audrey, for having me. And secondly, I would just encourage parents to visit the American Camp Association website, learn more about why camp can be an important part of your child's year-round education. Our website is www.acacamps.org. Again, camp has been a part of American lives for over 160 years. It started out way back when in the 1800s, when teachers would take their students to nature, basically to out of the over industrialized cities and create different kinds of experiential learning experiences. Those traditions are alive and well. We have school camp school partnership. We have all kinds of camps from all kinds of agencies and independent and for-profit and nonprofit organizations. Our goal is to get every child in America outside in camp, building community, building kindness. That's our focus. And I just really appreciate the opportunity to share our messages with your listeners. And I love your podcast. Thanks so much for putting that on.
Oh, thanks so much for your time right here in the summer on being on the podcast. Thanks so much, Tom. It's been great talking to you.
A pleasure, Audrey. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to episode 46 with Tom Rosenberg. For notes, links, and more information about all the topics Tom and I discussed, visit my website at sunshine-parenting.com and search for episode 46. I hope wherever you are on July 24th and every other day of the year, that you'll find ways to practice kindness with your kids at home, at summer camp, and everywhere else. I'll leave you with a quote from Tom from this episode. When kids are in an environment where they feel appreciated and included, then they're willing to take positive risks and try new things that they've never tried before.
This podcast is a proud member of Parents on Demand, a network of high-quality shows for families just like yours. Download our free network app on Apple and Android and listen to your favorite episodes on the go.